John.
To the Trapped Under Plastic podcast, a podcast for miniature hobby enthusiasts.
Yeah, enthusiasts.
Yeah. Talk about painting stuff, talk about gaming stuff, a little bit of everything.
Little bit.
Yeah. So we're back. It's been a while since we've been gone. We'll talk later in the podcast about what we've been doing with all this time. Spoiler is we've been using the time inefficiently. Well, it's mostly my fault. John says like, let's do this. And I'm like, wait, we have to do so many things. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. So if you're interested in that, later in the episode, we'll talk about that. If you want to find this podcast, we publish every other Monday. And you can also find it on all places where you can normally find podcasts.
That's a big improvement.
That's
from
a big
last time.
improvement. Yeah, last time it was like just like 2 places, but now it's all normal podcast places. So the first thing we do in this podcast is talk about what we have painted recently. So John, what have you painted?
So recently I have decided to paint some things for myself for fun.
Oh, is that fun?
Yeah, and this is something that I think maybe we can get into in depth in maybe a later episode, because I think there's a lot to this. But since I started painting, I really was like, everything I paint, I have to give like 100% try hard on. Mm-hmm. Like I have to paint it the best I could possibly paint it.
Yep.
And so recently I'm just, unless I'm painting for somebody else, I'm like, F it.
Yeah.
It's for Bill.
They don't deserve this.
Right. You get the $15 paint job, which is 45 minutes. So I started painting my Age of Sigmar stuff.
Okay. What stuff?
So I painted a unit of dire wolves, okay. Which are actually just Fenrisian wolves from 40K. But the dire wolf models for Age of Sigmar are so old and derpy that I just hate them.
Okay.
So I use these Fenrisian wolves. I just paint them evil wolves.
Okay.
Wolves. And then I painted a Night Haunt hero, which I tried to do my own little Blanchitsu style.
Oh, see, okay. I'm gonna make a lot of people mad right now. Whenever I hear the word Blanchitsu, it's like, oh, it's gonna look bad.
It just means sloppy and ugly and not done.
And whenever I look at Blanchitsu's work, it's like a bunch of desaturated yellows and reds, and is that right? Maybe not desaturated, maybe pastel is the right word. I don't see a lot of really strong coloration in his drawings, which is fine. That's the style he chooses to make. And whenever I hear someone say Blanchitsu, really what that means is a grim and dark paint job. But I never see that pastel color palette. But in what you painted, I did see it, because the robes that you used were a cream tone color. Mm-hmm. And like, I think even the backdrops for a lot of his drawings are that cream, that aged paper look. So yeah.
It's almost like you go over it with like a sepia filter.
Yeah, kind of.
It's just like, oh, I painted this thing and then I just put it in black and white. And then I put a sepia filter on it. And now it's Blanchitsu.
Okay. I want to ask about your wolves. What makes them evil wolves?
Glowing eyes.
Glowing eyes. Is this an airbrush thing, or is this more of a...
Yes, I did airbrush it. I paint the eyeballs like bright white, like heavy body acrylic white. And then I just airbrush over the color that I want, and you have it spill over around the sockets and stuff, so it's a little bit glowy. That's like the quick and easy way to do OSL.
Okay,
is you just paint the eyeball white or the glowy thing white, and then you just airbrush the crap out of it and let the overspray happen.
Right, and if you didn't have an airbrush, you could probably pretty easily do this with just glazing.
Yeah,
paint it white first, and then just sloppily glaze it near the eyeball, pulling the brush toward the eye, so the most intense area is by the eye.
Yeah, and in fact, that way it would be more efficient in terms of getting a truly glowy looking eye, because you can actually pull it towards the creases, the outsides of the eye. Okay. You don't want to pull it towards the center of the eye, and so then the inside of your eye is not the bright part. You want it around the edges.
That's a good point. Can you explain that a little bit better?
Say what you just said, but
do it better.
Yeah. Okay. So if the glowy thing is an orb, which the eye is an orb, like the center of it, whichever perspective you're looking at it from, the center of it will be the brightest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so the center of the eyeball should be the brightest, and the edges where it's like meeting going into the skull would be darker, because there's less light hitting it around there.
And not only darker, but I think more saturated as well. So if the center of your eyeball is white, that's 100% desaturation, right? Mm-hmm. White. And then as it kind of goes toward where it meets the skull, it gets darker, but also there's a certain area where it reaches its mid-tone and it's most saturated.
Yes.
I'm like pulsing with my hands right
yes,
now.
I could I'm
like rubbing an eyeball, right?
caressing an eyeball the size of a softball.
All right, so dire wolves and a night haunt hero choice.
Yeah. Well, the goal of this is I wanted to figure out how I was going to paint my night haunt dudes. And so I'm like, I'm going to kind of do this as a test model, but you kind of give it the extra 15% because it's a hero. And but still go with like what can I get done fast and dirty and still look cool. And you use a lot of the like the aftermarket tricks, like the old, I guess, blood for the blood god with the toothbrush trick.
Aftermarket tricks.
right. Yeah. Like, yeah, we got the spoiler and the rims that aren't by Honda that we just slapped on here.
This took me 5 minutes to do, but elevated the paint job 15% tricks. Yes.
Yeah. That's always the way you want to do it when you're trying to get your army done.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
You know? So yeah, that's basically, and then I finished those up, and then I just like didn't start any more of my armies.
You got some done.
I got some done.
And now you can take a break, you can do other things, and then you can come back to it later.
Yeah, but then the problem is I'm like, oh, look at these other new models that came out. I'm going to buy models.
Like what kind of new models?
What new models? Well, there's all these rumors of a new Age of Sigmar Death army coming out.
Don't even. It's Tomb Kings.
So, it's Tomb Kings 2.0. It's Tomb Kings with not Tomb Kings.
See, you want to hear my conspiracy theory?
Oh, I do.
Okay. I don't think anyone likes Tomb Kings.
No.
I think they're stupid. But here's what I think. There's a guy, you may know him. His name is Tyler Mengel.
Yes.
He runs a site called Mengel Miniatures.
Yeah.
He is a very well-known Tomb King lover.
From the mind of Mengel.
Yes. He runs an annual painting competition that I've competed in at one point, I think in 2016. But he loves Tomb Kings, and he writes for GW's Warhammer community site. So he also got flown out to their contrast paint things.
He was one of the...
which, by the way, I've very heard about. No one invited me.
Wow.
I'm sad. Okay, but anyways, I think he has a relationship with GW.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good one.
He's a concubine.
Yeah, concubine. But I think he whispered in some designer ears at GW saying, give me that fucking Tomb King shit. And they're like, oh, okay. And and he kept beating him down until eventually they're like, okay, we'll do it. Because, I played Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I could get a sense for what the popular armies were. Maybe in my 5 years of playing that game, I saw one Tomb King player, and obviously I'm only talking about what I saw at my local store, but that kind of gives you an idea of like what is out in the entire world. It wasn't that popular. Why is it coming back?
I don't know. Because we need catapults made out of bones.
Okay.
Obviously.
We need the Egyptian vibes.
Yeah. Oh, see, here's the thing. I just learned about this. Here's some crazy shit.
Okay.
Did you know that, you probably did because you played back then, Warhammer Fantasy, all of the armies were based off of the map as we know it of Earth? So like Bretonians were from Britain.
They're like French. They're like the French Knights. Yes.
Yeah, and then
Empire is like Germany.
Yes.
You can even see it in the names.
Yes, and actually I was told that in some of the books or in one of the books or whatever, like they actually have a map of Europe.
It looks like
and like Lizardmen or South America,
right.
and obviously Tomb Kings,
Egypt.
So when the Warhammer Fantasy era has died, you can't have the Egypt army still in the game.
Yeah.
So they're gonna just bring it back with a new coat of contrast paint.
Right. This has actually been my problem with books that are in the Warhammer and Warhammer 40K universe. Sometimes when I read them, it's like they'll use things that are distinctly this world. They'll measure things in like inches or talk about like miles, and it's like, is that a thing in your world? I would love for world creation to just totally re-envision something so that we're not using a bunch of stuff from this world in a totally alien one. And so in that same vein, basing your entire world off of what it currently exists in terms of like the land structures and even like the naming styles, like Karl Franz being clearly a German name, like what? I guess that's harder. That's harder to do. And I'm criticizing this. And if I had to do it, I would have no idea where to start. But that's been something that's always kind of taken me out of the lore. It's like,
the fact that they have different units of measurement, like the lizardmen should be using 4 flip gibbets to 172.
Yes.
What?
Yes. I don't want to hear about inches. It ruins my immersion.
And each army, because they're different from like a different area, has a different
No. Just the whole world.
Oh.
Right? And like an alien world might do something differently.
So you really only have one conversion chart.
Inch.
Yeah. Like
really, it's just
one
inches.
flip gibbet is 1 inch.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
You're cool with that.
Yeah. That's all I want.
Speaking of that, why do we measure in the game? Why do we measure in inches, but the bases are in centimeters and millimeters?
Jesus.
What is this garbage town?
Yeah, being a game from the United Kingdom predominantly, we're talking about Games Workshop games right now. You would think that they would use millimeters and centimeters to measure stuff. Actually, is England one of those weird countries that has like a mixture? Because I know Canada is.
Yes. I have no idea.
Wow.
I think they're totally on the metric system.
Yeah, what the heck? Why aren't we using centimeters or something?
I don't know. I think it's always been that way. It's always been inches.
Maybe they just felt like in the beginning their biggest target audience was going to be Americans. So they decided early on to do that. And then they're like, well, that was a mistake.
You know what it was?
What was
I'm
it?
just making this up. I have no idea.
More conspiracy theories with John and Scott?
Yeah. Games Workshop started out as a company that like made D&D stuff. Sold D&D miniatures. Yeah, that was their origin. And they were like the D&D hookup in Europe. So if everything was based off of D&D, which was an American thing, made in America, maybe that was it. Maybe the origin is, we're having this whole conversation in like one comment in the notes below from someone that's listening to be like, nope, you guys were all wrong. Way to waste 17 minutes of our lives.
Actually, you're a dumbass. This is how this works.
Oh, man. You guys thought you were here to listen to a painting podcast. Actually, it's lore and other shit.
Wild conspiracy theories.
Yeah, so enough about not what I painted. What did you paint?
I recently started a Knight Titan commission. And I've never painted anything this large. I painted a tree man, a tree lord ancient. That's the new name for it. Mm-hmm. But it's not as ornate and big as a Knight Titan. And it's a commission. And so I had to quote a price. And I assumed that I was going to be able to paint this thing in 70 hours. Do it entirely.
Yeah, that's
which I thought
fair.
That's a large chunk of time.
It is.
I said that knowing that the person wanted some conversion because he gave me a normal knight.
Okay.
And he's like, I want this to be a Renegade Knight. And at the time, the Renegade Knight kit didn't exist.
Now it does.
And it actually came out before I even started.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, this came out. Do you want me to use the Renegade Knight kit? And he was like, no, I want you to convert it still. I was like, okay, it's fine. So he wants me to do that. And so I knew that going in, that there was going to be conversion. I quoted 70 hours. Well, I spent 50 hours and the model is finally done being converted and like assembled in sub-assemblies.
Yeesh.
You think I'm going to finish painting it in 20 hours?
I think you can make it happen.
I think.
It's not going to look as good as you want it to.
I think I'm screwed.
Yeah, you are certainly screwed. Because you put 50 hours in, you don't want to be like, let's just rush job this.
Yeah, no. Definitely want to have fun with, I'm considering getting a vinyl cutter to make cool stencils because Knights have very specific iconography on each part of their body. I didn't know this. He sent me a diagram. It's like the leg panels have this and the shoulders have this. And like each section is plotted out for a different kind of demarcation, whether what the Legion is, what the company is, I don't know, other nerd, but like it's very specific. Yeah. And so I want to have fun and I can't freehand all that stuff. That'll take way too long. I think I want to get a little vinyl cutter and cut some stencils and do some airbrush work and then weather on top of it. And
yeah,
I think so. I'm excited to do that, but that's going to take longer than 20 hours. That's going to take another 50, another 60.
So you're saying that there's this order of operations or order of which each plate has on it?
Yeah, well, order of operations, or it's just specific. Every single Renegade night, every single normal night, all of their shins have the same category of icon on it. Every single night on its shin has its company mark.
Okay, so they like the candy canes only go on the shoulders, no candy canes on the shin plate.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure if what I just said is accurate, but I was just trying to illustrate what I'm talking about.
The candy canes is accurate, though.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
I should have said candy canes.
Do you see the problem with this? The problem is
I don't have artistic freedom.
The problem is you're talking about a very structured system on a chaos thing.
Yeah.
That is bullshit.
Well, okay, hold on. You got people like Night Lords. Night Lords are very non-chaosy people. You know what I'm saying? They're like, we just didn't like what the Emperor did. That makes us bad guys, but we're still like pretty rule-oriented people.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So chaos is deep, man. It's deep, okay? Here's another thing about 40K people. You can never put any of their armies in a box, because as soon as you put them in a box, they're going to be like, actually, they're more complicated than that. So, but, for chaos, that's kind of true.
I just thought they just had a different, on the big flow chart, they just had a different color suit. Like,
I mean, for us, that's what it is, effectively.
We just, like, half of the audience just turned off the podcast
like
right now.
Idiots.
You don't understand.
Disrespecting my Space Marines. All right. So I did that, and I was like, okay, I wanted one YouTube video to be all about the night. And I was like, crap, it took me a whole week just to convert it. I need to pivot fast. So I pivoted to a Funko Pop Space Marine.
Ooh.
So I had a company reach out to me, Gemmer, and they wanted me to paint a Funko Pop for their website. So it was a sponsored video. I get a lot of comments a lot of times, people saying, Scott, for someone who hates Space Marines, you sure paint them a lot. And it's like, someone gave me money to do this. Shut up. or they just do well on YouTube, and
right.
So every once in a while, you got to feed the beast. You got to paint a Space Marine.
If you want to paint like Slanesh, big booty lady, like you got to be able to feed the fam, so you can make time for that.
Right? Yeah, I gotta feed the fam first, then I can do what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
So I painted a Funko Pop Space Marine, and it was an Imperial Fist. That was what they requested. They requested a veteran Second Company Imperial Fist. I asked them that. I was like, about, in commissions, you want to be as specific as you can. Their artistic freedom, I don't care about that on a commission. I want to paint it how you want it, because I don't want that thing coming back to me. I want you to be like, that's great, take it, I'm done with it. So I gave them the charts. I gave them everything. I was like, tell me which one you want. And they picked that. And it was kind of humorous, because it's exactly how I painted the heavy metal one. Was a veteran Second Company Imperial Fist. So yeah, painted that. That was a lot of fun. I've never painted a Funko Pop before.
It turned out really good.
Turned out okay. Yeah, I stole a little trick from an Instagrammer for painting the yellow armor, with doing the white and red ink undercoat, and then doing the yellow ink on top of it. I unfortunately can't remember that guy's name right now, or I couldn't remember it in the video either. So I'm I'm a dick.
He made quite an impression on you.
Yeah. I looked for it for like 30 minutes. I was like looking through my Instagram people that I follow. I couldn't find it. So I tried, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, that's what I painted. I mean, it was fun.
Is it a lot different to paint that little toy as
No.
it is to paint the little toys?
No, it's the same thing.
Is it?
You could get more ornate with the airbrushing if you wanted to, because the head is like the size of a baseball, literally.
Yeah.
It is. So you could, if you wanted to, really put a lot of time and effort into shading and highlighting such a gigantic volume. But I was like, screw it. Base coated it, recess shaded it, edge highlighted it, done. Huge red swath. And then everyone in the video was like, why didn't you weather the helmet like you weathered the yellow armor? And I was like, crap. I forgot.
Because that's the way he chooses to fight. Like, he keeps his head perfectly clean at all times.
Or he's a recently new veteran sergeant, and he just got his helmet.
Oh, so that's the only like differentiator for these guys?
Yeah, well, the knee will suggest what company you're in. And the helmet suggests your rank. If you're a sergeant, a veteran sergeant, a lieutenant, a normal basic. And then also on your right shoulder, you have where you are in the Army. Are you a basic troop? Are you a commander? Are you something else? And also the company marking. So in this case, 2, second company. And then on this side, the left shoulder, you have the chapter symbol. So in this case, Imperial Fists. I am ashamed that I know this.
I immediately regret asking the question. 'Cause I, like, 5 seconds into that response, I'm like, nope, don't care.
Don't care. Yeah. Okay. Well,
because it was a lot better answer if you're just like, just the helmet changes. And I'm like, sweet. Okay.
No.
That.
No.
It doesn't.
Again, these guys are deep.
Oh.
Okay. They have all their special stories. Okay. That's what we've painted. Now we're on to the next segment, which is answering a question. This is actually a question that wasn't submitted by a patron, but was one that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. And that's about recasting. Is recasting good or is it bad? And I think before we have a discussion, I can safely say for both of us, recasting is always a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to be like, yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Go do it. Yeah, buy them. But we want to have a mature conversation and explore all the avenues, be devil's advocates, and see what kind of conversation we have.
Yeah. I think there are some points, legitimate points, although slightly immoral points that we can make, and they are also the kinds of what I would consider like thought process to justification as a consumer. If you're like, well, yeah, I could blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm just going to buy the Chinese one. Like, you have to convince yourself that it's okay. As humans, we have to convince ourselves those things.
And some people are convinced easier than others.
Yeah.
So, okay, we could talk about a lot of things right now, but I think the first thing we should talk about is, I think the thing that's most interesting to me is buying a recasted model from a small company versus buying it from Games Workshop. There's a clear difference in emotion. It is easier to harm the massive company than it is to harm the small company. It's an easier mental hurdle to get over. Right?
Can we take a step back? Because I'm just afraid.
Let's take a step back.
I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Because what is recasting? Can we just go over that?
Sure. Recasting is buying a model from a company. It comes in its pieces that it was casted in, so it's very convenient. Making molds for all those parts and then recasting it and selling it cheaper. And the reason why you're able to sell it cheaper is you didn't have to pay for concept art. You didn't have to pay for a 3D sculpt or a master sculpt. You didn't have to pay for maybe more expensive packaging or like other goodies that the original artist put in the box. You just got to get the fully finished model right there in its individual pieces already and then cast it. And this is actually a little bit more complicated than people might think, having recently been fresh off of producing my own model. Is that a complicated part of making a model is knowing where the cut lines are. And I was blessed with having a caster who's also a sculptor. He took my 3D sculpt and he modified it to make the cut lines better. Because the problem was that the original design, if you were to cast it correctly, it'd be like 21 pieces. But he changed it a little bit and now it's like 8. And so there's a skill to doing those cut lines in the right spots so everything casts correctly. So you get to skip all that as a recaster and just go straight into casting and selling it. And so it's cheaper.
So it's just like if you were to be like, set up a little cart right in front of the McDonald's drive-thru and sell McDonald's cheeseburgers.
That is exactly what it is. Because, you get all their popularity, you get their location, their prestige, but you just get sell it cheaper.
All the overhead
is
gone.
Yes.
And you just get to sell. But, the flip side is, as a consumer, I'm buying a McDonald's cheeseburger from this dude, back of this dude's trunk in a parking lot.
It smells weird.
I'm taking my life in my hands on this.
Yeah.
I just got to trust it was worth the 7 cents instead of the 97 cents.
So bringing it back into real world talk here, and instead of talking about cheeseburgers, the risk of buying a recasted model is they'll use resins that smell weird. It smells like literal garbage, like actual garbage. And you'll get voids in the cast sometimes. You'll get warpage in areas where there wasn't, or in the case of Forge World, the recast is better than the original.
We've gone full retard. We just flipped 180 degrees and we got better.
Okay, yeah, we went too far down that hole, but that is a risk you take when buying recasted stuff, is that it could be lower quality materials.
Yeah, yep, that's the big thing. And then you're buying from. I mean, okay, so there's this whole underground thing. I never was able to tap into it, but like it's like on like Facebook groups and like Reddit channels and stuff where it's like, hey man, where you get that G-Dub recast? You're like, I'm going to give you a link to a website, and that website is going to ask you 7 trivia questions. you must pass a 5 out of 7 trivia questions before that website then gives you another link.
Yeah, we got to determine that you're not a narc first.
Yeah.
This is like American Gangster of resin recasts.
You can't just like go somewhere. It's all the time. Like people are like, will post on like Facebook groups and they're like, I got this thing. It's the Kingdom Death recast. And they're like, where'd you get it? Like, can't tell you.
Yeah.
PM me.
Yeah.
behind the Walgreens.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Actually, saying that, one thing that will help viewers identify a recast from a not recast is oftentimes recasts are sold on eBay from China and Russia. Yeah. So if you're buying a model and you're like, why is this so much cheaper than the original? Why is it $20 or $15 when it costs $40 normally? Is it from Russia or is it from China? Is it on eBay? It's a recast.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an easy way to identify that.
I see them a lot. All right. Let's do a quick caveat.
I have a question for you.
Oh.
But do your caveat.
We're not like anything we're discussing here is not the goal to like get you to find where to go and buy recasts and condoning the purchase. And
recasting.
Yeah.
I said that so you don't buy them.
Yeah.
So you can identify a recast.
And it's like, actually, there's a great Chinese seller.
His name is no.
All right. So you give me your question.
Have you ever bought a recast model?
I was thinking about that this morning.
The answer is yes or no. Here.
I couldn't remember.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
no, I don't think so. No. And it's final answer. No.
Okay.
Although, not for lack of trying.
Okay. You've tried.
Yeah, there are certain Kingdom Death models that I really want. And just the rotation of eBay recast sellers I've not found the ones that I want. I feel bad about saying that.
But. Hey, no. I can outdo you. I've never bought them, but someone bought them for me. And I kind of asked for it. So I have a resin dealer locally, and basically it's just the guy who, like, he'll bulk buy recasting stuff and then distribute it to people in Minnesota. And one time, he asks me a lot if I need anything, and I always say no, I don't need it. But this one time, I was like, okay, I'm going to start working on a Night Lord diorama. Of it, just like it's the Piracy one, which I won't get into right now, but suffice to say, I want to have a lot of Night Lord bits for conversions so I can make the coolest looking Night Lord Space Marine I can. Oh. And if I were to go to Forge World and buy a bunch of Night Lord crap, it'd cost a lot of money. And so I was like, yes, I want a bunch of bits. I want like arms and heads and stuff. And he took that to mean that I wanted everything that Forge World sold in Night. So I have a bunch of Night Lord stuff. Resin recasted from that situation, and I feel guilty about it. I did buy the Forge World Primarch Conrad Kurz from them as kind of like a token of repentance.
My guilt is so high right now. I'm just gonna spend more money.
$120 on this model.
I sure hope that you don't. Well, okay, it's like, you don't use that stuff.
I will. How funny would that be if I could win a Golden Demon with a Forge World recasted piece?
Not good. That wouldn't be good. If they found out, they would strip you of your metal, you doper.
I think Crusher agrees with you because he's barking upstairs right now. And we'll come back after a brief intermission when I calm down my dog. Okay, that was my fun little question as to whether or not we've ever, because if we're going to like
Yeah.
crucify people. You got to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. That happened. That's the only time. Never again. Okay. I only did heroin once.
It was this morning, ironically. That's why
I was fighting so much.
No. Yeah. Which just means that it's the first of many times.
Right. So actually, you in mentioning Kingdom Death, which is a very boutique miniature brand, hard to get, lots of limited edition sales for stuff.
Yeah.
You brought up one of the reasons why recasting could be considered okay at times by some people, not me. Basically, if a company makes a limited edition item, and you literally cannot get it, you've tried to find someone who will sell it secondhand, they are not selling it, and you want to paint it, you would buy it from a recaster. Does that make it okay?
Oh boy. I don't think it necessarily makes it okay, but I think it's enough of a justification of this was a product. I want the product. You don't make the product anymore. Mm-hmm. If you don't want my money as a company, and at this point, how much does it hurt the company as opposed to me someone flipping it on eBay for triple the price? The company isn't making a dime off of that either.
They made a dime off the original sale, though.
They made the dime off the original sale of the guy that recast it, though, too.
No, but the thing about the recaster is he can make infinite monies.
Well, yeah, in the utopian recaster society, that's how it works. But he's not making infinite. He's selling 50.
Yeah, but not one.
Yeah, but he's selling 50 at 1/10 the price, and this guy's selling one at 150 at the price. Wait,
you meant
500%?
Yeah. I get you. I don't think it works out to the point where the guy who flipped it for triple the price is ever making more or equal to the amount that the guy who recasted it is making. I think the recaster is always making more.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, there is that gray area though. It's like, because KDM, that does happen. People buy
all the time.
So much so that the website limits you to how many you can buy of a certain variety. So you can't just buy 50 and then sell them all on eBay. You can only buy, 3 or 5?
You can buy, I believe it's 1 of the resin, 2 of the plastic.
Okay.
Per model.
Okay. So yeah, they've identified that as a problem, and they've had to put in those like roadblocks for people so that you can't just buy it and flip it. That's an interesting question. Is that okay?
Flipperooski?
I feel like that's just an economy that's created under the fact that you made a limited edition model. If it wasn't limited edition, that would never happen.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Okay. I don't think Peter is watching this. Peter, is that his name? What's the CEO of KDM's name? I know his last.
Poots?
Yeah, it's Poots. Okay. I knew his last name was kind of funny. Poots. He's not watching this, but I feel like any company, especially one as large as KDM, will make more money with a non-limited edition range than with a limited edition one. I get limited edition stuff for small companies because like it's hard to get merch off the shelf. Even for me, it's hard to. I no longer sell merch out of my house because it didn't work to buy 100 shirts and then sell them all because it was hard to do that. So I did limited edition stuff, and that got rid of it fast. But for KDM, like there's stuff that I would buy if it was on the freaking web store.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they don't cast their stuff in a more regular way. Do you know why?
I think they thrive off the exclusivity. I think the exclusivity causes this like foaming at the mouth hunger for their community.
That's true. It is true. Yeah.
Yeah. And the best part about that is they can be dumbass looking models and people will buy them all up right away for fear of missing out. It's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out.
It increases the value of their entire catalog.
Yes.
Okay, but do you think they could make more money if they just sold more? So what's better? Limited edition the entire range or make everything not limited edition? How much money? Do you make more money in one way or the other? I think you make more money with the latter, with nothing limited edition.
If you have to go all or nothing, yes. But like their base game and base expansions at this point anyway are basically always available.
Okay, but I can't buy a gold smoke knight whenever I want. Right? Or a necromancer boss whenever I want.
But those, if I'm correct, those don't have game rules anyway.
Who? Okay, I don't even give
a lot
about the game.
the
The models are awesome.
Yes, a lot of the stuff is the limited edition stuff doesn't have game rules.
Okay, so that's kind of like their reason why they might make it limited edition, because it's like people are buying these majority of the time for the game.
Yeah.
Okay, I think they're wrong about that.
Yeah. And an odd story on this, and this is one of those hyped up recasters, is the king. I don't know if it's what the model's full name is.
It's the one with the giant dick in his hand.
No.
He's got dicks on dicks. Forge God.
You just got dicks on dicks in your head. That's
do.
not who I was talking about.
That's
There's a guy that's king. That's the Forge God. That's not the king. So the king is probably like the most famous uber rare model of KDM. If you can find one, I think they're like between $1,500 and $3,500 if you can buy one. If you can find one, they're the rarest of the rare, and they are a well-known recaster's dream.
Yeah,
because that's how you get that model. You literally cannot get that model, and like the big time KDM collectors, that's the piece de resistance. Poots just recently announced, I believe it was at Gen Con, that they are bringing out a new expansion or like a mini expansion with that king model in it. So it's not going to be limited edition.
Yeah. The value that's going to plummet.
Yeah. So the broski that just spent $2,500.
He feels like a jackass
on that model. And like in the KDM Facebook groups, like when you see someone like post works in progress of them painting that model, people are like, no,
yeah, don't paint it.
Don't paint it, you idiot.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That sucks.
Right?
So they're going to make a bunch of money on that expansion. Because people are going to buy that just for that model exclusively.
Yeah. And it's a badass model. It really is.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they set themselves up in the recasting game because of the way that they have their business model set up.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
As someone who runs a small business, I feel like they could make a buttload of money if they just sold it not limited edition. I'm making a model. It's not going to be limited edition. I'm going to cast it over and over and over again. And over the course of that model's lifetime, it's going to make me so much more money than the 150 that I sell in 2 months. It's like, I get it. You want to make a buttload of money right away. But I feel like for a long-term success, you want to set up trickling income streams, and a lot of them that come in and pay out every month. And so one of those is selling 10 miles in a month. Yeah. And that happens every single month for 3 years. Maybe not 3 years, but it slows down at the end.
I feel like the buttload of money up front system is like the epitome of how Kickstarter works.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's actually a really good point. That's a very successful way to launch stuff. But Simon being the prevailing user of it, even though they don't need it, they sell their games, other than hate, after the fact as well. So it's a little bit of both.
I'd be interested to see what those numbers look like. I would say the average of their games, what they make in Kickstarter, probably at the 5-year mark is probably still like 90%.
I
think it's that high.
You think it's 90%?
I think it's that high.
Okay, so what John is saying right now is that after 5 years of Blood Rage being out, 90% of the income for that entire game is still made in the Kickstarter versus sales after the Kickstarter when it hits shelves in local game stores.
I tend to over-exaggerate everything in life.
I don't know. That's I think maybe it's closer to 70-30.
Yeah.
Or 75-25.
It's all that hype train, man.
Yeah.
Kickstarter exclusives.
Yeah. And Simon does Kickstarter exclusives really well.
Yeah, they do.
It seems like I wish so much that I had gotten the other 7 Deadly Sins KS, because it had so many awesome just exclusives.
That's it. Now every game that you come across on Kickstarter, you're gonna buy it and never play the GD game.
That's true of Hate so far. I bought the game and I've painted a model from it.
Have you played it yet?
No, I'm going to sometime.
I want to play it.
It seems like a fun game. Why don't we just stop recording this podcast and go play it right now?
See ya!
Okay, so we're talking about how limited edition stuff is a breeding ground for recasters, and that makes it easier mentally for a consumer to buy stuff because it's like it's not being sold anymore. I want it. It's like, should I just not? Okay, let's think about it's in a different company. Is there a different kind of product that's sold limited edition, like a T-shirt? I don't know. I feel like it feels different because it's a miniature that someone wants to paint.
Yeah. Yeah. I want this thing for artistic endeavor purposes.
Yeah, it's like I'm not trying to like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it is just for personal enjoyment.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, the recaster is the one that it really is. Oh, it's like pirating movies, isn't it?
It's like pirating movies. Well, okay, in some sense it is. And being an avid pirater of movies. Okay, I pirate a buttload of movies, but I will say my favorite movies I do buy. I have a massive DVD and Blu-ray collection, and that's a very classic birthday and Christmas present for the mother-in-law.
Oh yeah,
she's like, what does this kid do? He paints models. It's like, just give me a movie. Just get me.
Here's a list of 3.
Just give me Midsummer on Blu-ray. Okay. By the way, have you seen that movie?
Midsummer. Is that the new horror movie? That's kind of like Wicker Man, but it's not.
Kind of like, yeah, exactly. Kind of like by Ari Aster. It's my favorite horror movie ever.
Really?
It is so good.
Okay, we'll watch it after this.
Okay, I don't have it. We're gonna have to torrent it.
Fucking pirate it.
That is one that I will own. But okay, so you were talking about recasting as it relates to pirating movies.
It's someone else's intellectual property.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it relates in that sense, but there aren't any limited edition movies. And other than director's cuts with behind the scenes, maybe there's that. But even that is typically not limited edition. Maybe like the fancy box.
Yeah, but you're not gonna you don't get to pirate the fancy box.
You can't, right? Someone's gonna recast the box. No. So it relates in the sense that you're stealing from the main seller, but I don't think it relates in the limited edition sense. But there's one step further we can take down this trail of a limited edition, and that's companies that no longer sell stuff because they either went out of business or because they got IP thwacked. One that comes to mind is Night Models and their 75mm Marvel and Star Wars range. So there are out there some sick Han Solo 75mm or 54mm scale models and Luke Skywalker and Anakin models that they used to make, and they no longer do it either because they couldn't afford the Disney license after it got acquired by Disney, or they were just doing it illegally and they got a cease and desist.
Oopsie.
So, if I want to paint a sick model for like my nieces that love Darth Vader,
yeah,
which is badass that they love Darth Vader. They're all. I have all nieces. I have one nephew. But
he's the forgotten one.
He's the newest one. All the girls love Darth Vader, and I don't want to paint some podunk one from a board game where he's all floppy and heroic scale garbage. I want the big awesome one.
You don't want to do the Disney Infinity cartoonized one?
No. I want the sick 75mm scale one. So does that mean I can buy a recast? If it's no longer sold, and it's not going to be sold because it can't be sold, can I buy a recast now?
Are you asking me? Yeah. I'm the recast police?
Yeah, you're the recast police.
Yeah. In this situation,
we found it. We found
the situation. Right. It's the only way to acquire a thing. That company would not be making more money on this regardless.
They can't.
They would if they could.
Buy the original if you can on eBay or from a buddy. But if you can't, the only solution is a recast.
Yeah,
it feels dirty saying that.
It's a work of art that you want to slap paint on. The only way for you to acquire that work of art is how you choose to do so.
I feel really bad saying like this is an okay thing to do. Right now, it seems like an okay thing to do, but I feel like there's some kind of repercussion that I'm not considering. It's like if you open the gateway to recasting, then it's like you're going to get some spillover into other parts of it. So I just want to keep it shut entirely.
Some seepage. You don't want any seepage.
You don't want seepage. No one wants seepage out of anything. Seepage is just a gross word. Like moist and other things. I can't think of any right now. But I feel like that's another situation where it makes it easier. The mental road blockage is reduced.
Yeah.
If you can't even get it, they don't even sell it, or the company is gone. They no longer exist.
I'd gladly give them my money if they let me. kind
Yeah,
of.
I think that's what it comes down to. Well, then the limited edition thing becomes. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that, but it's a hard.
they
a hard
chose
thing.
to. Okay.
The limited edition thing is that they chose to.
Yes.
So you kind of want to respect the choice.
Yeah.
But if someone went under because they couldn't sell enough models, and you want the model, I don't know. I don't want to give a definite answer to this.
So another often used excuse is, this one often applies to Forge World as well, is it's so GD expensive
Okay, yeah.
to buy the original.
Yes.
This ass kit with terrible sculpt on garbage resin from the originators is bad, and they're going to charge me $750.
Yeah. Okay. So then this is the other side. If a company charges so much money for these things, I can't afford it. I can't play this game because I can't afford to buy your models. Is it okay for me to buy Recast? The thing that I would say is get a job, mow lawns, do something, save up, buy the model. Like, that is going to teach you a wealth of things beyond just learning how to manage your money. It's going to make you more of a responsible adult and being able to get things when you can afford them and earn them.
So this is a whole deeper question on here. This deals with the issue of instant gratification in our society today.
Okay, yeah.
It totally does.
Yeah,
because
it does, yeah.
In the 80s and 90s, when it was like, ooh, I got to get this box of orcs so I can start playing my Warhammer Fantasy.
Yeah.
You mowed lawns so you could afford the box of orcs.
That is exactly what I did. Okay, so a lawn was $20 for me. A box of 20 Empire Swordsmen was $35. I had to mow 2 lawns to get a box of 20 dudes. And then a blister was either $9 or $15, depending on what came in it. If it was a 3-dude blister, it was $15. If it was a 1-dude, it was $9. Something like that. It was pretty like locked in. And I always translated lawns to models. And so that's how it worked. But it was cheaper then. But the models were nowhere near as cool as they are now too. But anyway, so the thing about that is, like, GW charges these prices because they have a huge company. They have a whole concept art division. They have a whole division of miniature designers. They have all these people that they have all these mouths to feed. You have so many hands in the cookie jar. You need to feed them all, and it increases the price. But the question is have they already met that satisfaction and are just increasing the price further because of their grip on the market? Are they abusing their power right now? No one knows that.
No, I mean, you need to have a reality check first and foremost. If you're getting into this hobby or staying in this hobby, if money is the major concern, because if you're from a gaming perspective, this is not a cheap hobby.
No,
it's not like the most expensive hobby for grown ass men by a long shot.
Hey, it can be cheap.
It can be. It can be manageable, but you have to be smart and a good consumer, and you can do that by paying going rate,
by buying secondhand models from people who are selling them locally.
Yep.
Like, hey, I don't want this anymore. It's new on sprue. Here it is, 50% off.
Right. And maybe I'm naive in this, but I don't think the standard in print today plastic GW models are big victims of the recasters.
I don't think they are. I don't know why. Why wouldn't someone buy the anniversary edition Space Marine Sergeant version 35, because there's a million of them, and recast it and sell it? Oh, I know why. Because it's on a sprue.
Yeah.
It's plastic injection, not resin.
Yeah.
So that's way harder to recast.
They have a lot of voids, right? So the way the GW plastic works now is you put it together and the whole inside is hollow. So you have to adapt that.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why it costs more. The models cost more is because GW actually put research into how to take advantage of their casting process to make it harder to recast. And that cost money, and then that also increased the price.
Yeah.
So even though the models aren't being recasted, it still affected the end price.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a wild guess.
I mean, there's probably a number of factors that are in this. One, a lot of those are easily obtainable still. And that's probably a big thing, is scarcity. When you're looking at some of the older metal models or Forge World resin stuff, it's either exorbitant costs or you can't easily get them now. So if folks want them, the price is already naturally driven up due to scarcity.
Okay.
They're not in print.
Okay. So right now we're in the category of, if it costs so much that I can't afford it, can I buy a cheaper version? We brought up the idea of patience and just earning the money and then paying for the thing that you want versus instant gratification.
Yeah.
And so to answer that question explicitly, if you can't afford it, you can't have it. You can't, that is not, in my opinion, not a reason to go out and buy a recast if you can't afford it. Yeah. The flip side is, what if the recast is higher quality than the original? In my opinion, suck it up. Yeah. You're going to get the model. It's going to be crappy. You bought that. You bought it with the knowledge that it's going to be crappy. You might need to do some work. You can contact Forge World and be like, hey, this was garbage. Give me a new one. And from what I heard, they're really good about replacing crappy casts.
That's nice.
So, it's a Band-Aid on the gunshot wound of just not casting it good in the first place.
I think an important thing here is they're talking about, I can't afford it, so I can't play the game. You can literally play every army in a game that Games Workshop makes without buying Forge World models. So your excuse of, I need to buy this, I can't afford it, I need to buy it. You can still play your Space Marines army without a Bane Blade. I don't know if that's...
Are you talking about 40K? Because 30K, I think that argument becomes a lot harder.
Yeah, 40K and Age of Sigmar. I think
that's true. Yes. So Age of Sigmar and 40K, you can play your army without needing to have Forge World models. That's true. But when you talk about 30K, I think that line of thought becomes harder because a lot of the armies are exclusively on Forge World.
Why is that still a game?
What? Because people... Okay, we made a joke about this in the Origin of Space Marine videos, where it's like people love Space Marines so much that we need to make a game where it's just all Space Marines. All Space Marines. 30K isn't all Space Marines. There's like some other normal dudes as well, but the majority of the armies are all Space Marine legions. Okay. And that's your answer.
I don't know why Forge World's still even around.
Why? What?
The origination of Forge World is like, ooh, super epic high quality minis. God, that was their thing. Like these big, awesome centerpieces for your army. And you look at them now, and the quality of those minis compared to the minis that GW is making today, they pale in comparison.
They do pale in comparison.
And so,
are they hand sculpted versus 3D sculpted? Has Forge World not made that transition yet?
I guess I haven't watched it closely enough to give you an answer.
Okay. I get the feeling. I get the feeling that they are still hand sculpted, but that doesn't make any sense to me if like GW is they're so far down their 3D sculpting road. Yep. There was a very clear transition. They started making 3D sculpted models. They looked kind of awful, but they've gotten so much better at doing natural musculature and all of these things. They've really improved. So they're really far down that learning process. So I find it hard to believe that Forge World is still hand sculpting stuff. I don't know.
I also don't care.
If the end product sucks, why does it matter? It doesn't suck, which is not as good as Games Workshop stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we'll still take a Forge World sponsorship, but I feel like it's not coming after this.
Yeah. No.
Okay, all right. So are we ready to flip this to the next tier of recasters?
That was all I had. That's all I thought about. There's more?
No. So
no, I'm done.
I'm talking about not stealing the actual product for your use, but what about stealing the IP for your use?
Okay. So, I mean, I feel like this is like the Games Workshop podcast. But the most classic, well, actually, no, it's not. This actually applies in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
People stealing art from Magic the Gathering to make miniatures. And I'm not going to name anyone specifically, but I think do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
His name starts with an M, and his last name starts with a K.
Oh, I do know.
He's
got other ones, too.
He does. He has originals. But the vampire lady he has, where she's sitting on a throne with her legs crossed, that's a Magic the Gathering card. Straight up.
He's got a lot of them that are from other.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
That's the only one that I know.
Yeah.
The Vampire Queen. Okay, I'm sorry if you guys... I'm not going to say who it is, but if you should know now if you are like involved at all. And if you're not, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's another thing. People's just stealing 2D concept art to make a model. I can't think of. There was another instance where someone did it in like the FB Facebook mob got a hold of them and like crucified them like a year back.
Yeah, this wasn't that long ago. I know what you're talking about too, but I can't think of what it was.
Okay, yeah.
But there's like didn't Scale 75 do a Witcher?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is huge. Yeah. They no longer sell it though.
Oh, it's called like The Hunterer.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
the Hunter and the Huntress. It's like, Yeah, that's a huge thing. Scale 75 does that a lot too. Stealing IP from various popular movies and selling it.
Yeah. It's a weird question to be like, what? It's not public domain, obviously, that you just like anyone can use it for the purposes of creation or something. So it's not that, so they shouldn't be profiting off of it, but it's also kind of creating their own bit of art. And in some regards, art is kind of walks around a lot of boundaries on what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
But the fact is that they're then flipping it and making money off of the sale of it. And I think that's really the caveat in all of this. We could look at a ton of different things. Like you can go to greenstuffworld.com and buy their blue stuff, which I have bought to recast your own bits of models you have. You create your own molds and then recast them.
I've done that too for Dark Eldar blasters because they don't give you enough and they're an awesome item. So I recast my own and use them in my army.
But you're not selling them. That's the kitchen. All of this.
Oh, okay. There's another avenue. Can you recast your own stuff and not sell it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can.
You think you can?
Absolutely. I purchased this product. I can do with it as I damn well please.
Why don't you recast your entire army?
Because that is insanity.
Okay. That actually, to answer my own question, I think you just said it. That's more trouble than it's worth.
Yes.
Resin is actually kind of expensive.
Yes.
So yeah, doing that is just not worth it. But doing a gun or a bit.
Yes, that's what I've done. It's the exact same thing. I need more plasma. You only gave me one plasma in this box that cost me $50.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm making more plasma.
Okay. So if you're not selling it, you can recast something you already purchased. That's what John's saying. I feel comfortable telling anything. It's like having an opinion that is strong about anything and saying, yep, I'm sure of this. Because like someone's going to comment and be like, but what about this? Like African slavery, blood diamonds. I'm like, oh, how did I forget about that?
Oh, you forgot about the blood diamonds.
I'm kind of shell shocked because I've been making the YouTube videos and I've used to have strong opinions about things. But then I always get someone who's like says this really compelling thing. And it's like, crap, I didn't think about that. So I'm shy about having a strong opinion about anything.
That's how the internet works, though. No matter what ridiculous thing that is put out there or like concrete evidence, like the earth is round.
Yeah.
Like someone can have an argument like, it's been flat this whole time. My bad.
Well, actually, the other thing about that is that strong opinions do much better on the internet than soft opinions. So if this video is titled "Recasting is Okay," it'll do way better than if the title is Recasting Okay. Just that subtle change of a strong opinion. Because people want to come and they want to hear it, and then they want to crucify you for your opinion.
Right.
So there's that.
Well, I guess we kind of found the name of the episode.
Oh yeah, Recasting is Okay.
Fucking love it.
Do it all the time.
Watch as we show you how to recast and sell for big bucks in this episode.
So yeah, the other elephant in the room is Games Workshop. Their IP is incredibly popular, and all of the time, people are 3D sculpting things based on the 40K and Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Universe, and they are selling it. They're making Kickstarters for it. In fact, we have a news segment, which is a news segment we're going to do later, and we have a Kickstarter that did just that.
Yeah,
they stole IP and kind of changed it a little bit, gave it a different name, a different paper wrapping.
Yeah.
And they made a Kickstarter about it. I don't know. We're entering the very muddy waters of creative intellectual property, which I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like once I sell my vampire model, I don't know how I can stop someone from just taking my concept art and making another model and selling it. I don't think that's going to happen. But if someone does that, what do I do? tell them to stop it?
Show up.
I don't got any kind of legal thing that says you can't do this.
Yeah.
Is there? Do I have to own a legal thing?
I think you'd need to own the IP of it.
I mean, I own it. I paid for it.
I don't know, but like you'd have to have some kind of
legal agreement.
Yeah.
With my concept artist or something like that.
Yeah. And then like it outlines what exactly defines what you own. And so if like enough boxes are checked of somebody copying your shit, then you can pursue legal repercussions.
Okay.
And that's why you see it. They've been smarter about it for years in 40K, but you're starting to see it more in Age of Sigmar with Games Workshop, in that they are the new armies that they are creating and getting rid of the old armies is totally based on being able to own that IP.
Right.
There will never be a generic elves. There will never be a generic high elves or wood elves.
Much to my dismay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, they should have had their ass sued by J.R.R. Tolkien for all the shit that they stole for years.
100%. Yes.
And so now Orcs is now Orruks. Orruks. Even
Elves
the names
are AELVES.
Yeah.
Elves or whatever it is.
Yep. Everything is. They tried to. I heard something where they tried to like get the IP of. They couldn't get Space Marine. Because or they couldn't get Ultramarine. I don't know. Shit. I shouldn't even talk about this because all the lore people are gonna know all this stuff and be like, no, they could get this and not this.
Okay.
And there's a lot of issues with generic spaceman stuff, which apparently was all ripped off of a different game.
Yeah, it's called
all their aesthetics.
It's called StarCraft. I've heard this story. This story is that Warhammer wanted Blizzard to make a video game based on their IP. Mm-hmm. They had some kind of falling out, and we have Warcraft and StarCraft. Huh. And Warcraft is very similar to Warhammer Fantasy, and StarCraft is very similar to 40K. You have Zerglings, which are Tyranids. You have the man dudes, which are Space Marines. You have the Protoss, which are Tau, and you have another one that I can't remember right now. But it's very clearly linked in some way. They've aesthetically diverged a little bit, but the roots are still there.
Yeah, the roots are real. I mean, you see it as the Tyranid Zergling thing is like it's fucking spot on. Like it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, and also the original guy. Even the Space Marine one. He looks like a chunky space dude. Yeah, it looks so similar.
He looks more like a Primaris, really.
Like kind of like Buzz Lightyear too, kind of.
He does.
Yeah. Speaking of, isn't there like a Buzz Lightyear Primaris Space Marine someone painted up? You see that?
Oh, it's a brilliant idea.
I've seen it. It looks great.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Can we just talk about podcasts for a second here? I've said a lot of podcasts, and I can't remember 85% of it, but this is going to go on the internet.
Yeah.
There's no script. I'm not going to like edit this and make it all like spotty. This is kind of a scary format.
It is. We sat down for like 5 minutes before this and ate bagels and we're like, yep. All right.
That was our prep.
Yeah, that was it.
Anything more about recasting?
I don't.
We talked about it.
I feel like we put that baby to bed.
We didn't. We talked about it though. We massaged the baby.
Yeah. So to summarize, if you can justify it, just go ahead and buy it.
No.
Oh, no. I mean, don't do that. No. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it, John.
99% of the time, don't buy a recast model. You are harming the people that make the models in the first place. Right. And if you harm them enough, they won't exist anymore, and then there will be nothing to recast.
Exactly.
There you go. There's a nice conclusion.
I like that. Because you're talking about the little man.
Yeah.
More there.
And that's what I care about the most, probably, because that's where you get so much fun differentiation.
Yeah. If the artist can't make money to keep making more sculpts, you're not going to get more sculpts. He's not going to do it anymore.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
You know, it's easy to look at the big machine and be like, oh, GW's not so much money. That's okay. But that's not really who we're talking about. Even KDM, even Poots. Like
Adam Poots, that's his name. Okay.
I mean, he is not many years removed from that really just being this boutique shot in the dark. Who would make an $800 board game? Like, that was a giant risk to put that out there and see if people would attach themselves to it. And so if you are setting up, even though his company is successful now, if you are chipping away at someone who took a big risk and it paid off, you are setting up an environment for those that might take a future risk to maybe not take it.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. What's the point in taking this risk if people are just going to recast and steal my work?
Yep. I'm not really going to benefit from all of this risk and labor and everything.
Right, yeah. We spend so much time talking about the justifications for recasting that we haven't really talked about the harm that it can do when it actually happens to people. You're stealing someone's work. Recasters are stealing someone's work, and then you, as a consumer, are supporting that decision. So just don't do it.
I feel like we should
there we go.
Overlay that commercial of the dogs and cats. For a mere 7 cents a day, you too can prevent the recasting of miniatures in your community. Look at this little space marine with a fly landing on his eyeball.
This little kitty model in the cage crying.
With his extended belly.
Oh, no, he's not poorly fed. Or not adequately fed. Yeah. So I said earlier that I have a hard time having strong opinions. I have one. Don't do it. Period. We're laughing right now, but I don't support recasting. I don't think it's good for the community of miniature creators, and I think it's going to harm you in the long run.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we talked enough about about recasting, and I'm happy with the final opinion we gave, and I hope everyone listened to the end of that segment.
Forget about the stuff where we made it sound like it was a good thing.
Well, no, we're talking about the justifications. That's part of it.
All right, on to the next segment, Scotty boy. So we've got a new segment here.
Ooh.
And the reason why we have a new segment is some folks in our last podcast series, they wanted us to extend the length of the podcast a bit. They were like, that 45 minutes is not enough for me.
Yeah, which is a real shock.
Right.
Because listening to us talk about something for 45 minutes is probably like a mental tax to a lot of people, including my wife.
Yeah, we thought like, oof, that's about the bar. We can't go beyond that. So we're going to do a news topics. And in news topics, we're going to talk about things that are relatively recently in the news.
Yeah.
The way that we film these, record these podcasts is we want to get them out every other week. Mm-hmm. But in order to do that, sometimes we've got to, we can't always shoot and then immediately publish. So it might not be right up to the moment accurate with news, but within the last week or 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. And we want your guys' input on this as well. So if there is something new in the news of the hobby world, could be painting, could be gaming, could be whatever you think is important to share, there is an email below in the show notes, and you can please feel free to send over the newsy news for us to chat about.
Yeah, there's so much going on in the miniature community that we don't see it all. And so if there's something important that happened, send us a little link to something or explain it, and we'll maybe include it in a show. And these first episodes are going to be kind of old stuff because we're recording it ahead of time and then deciding later when we want to publish it. But as we get into the motion of the ocean, they'll be closer to the actual news day. Mm-hmm. But the first thing, which is relevant to the topic, is a company called, it's a Russian company, and I might butcher the name, but it's TUOI, Toys. The name of the company is Toys, Toys. So it's 2 words.
That's a great idea to name your company that.
Right. They made 90 millimeter spacemen. It's called Space Legats. Space Legats. 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 I don't know what the heck that is.
Ooh, I don't know.
And they sell them on Kickstarter. And then GW was like, nope, those are those are Primarchs.
Yeah.
Get the heck out of here. And the Kickstarter shut down that Kickstarter.
It's a really timely topic based on what we just got done talking about.
Exactly, yeah. And I was actually given one of those models. So I have, what is it, Lehman Russ. That's the name of the Space Wolves Primarch. I have him. He's huge. He's 90 millimeter tall, but it got canned.
It's huge.
I don't know how often GW like polices Kickstarter, because I feel like this is happening a lot.
They have their team.
Okay.
They have their legal eagles all over the place.
They got their oily tendrils searching.
Oh yeah, they are quick to pounce too.
Okay.
My question is, this is the most important question.
I don't think it's gonna be, but
what was the Russian name of Lehman Russ that they sent you?
it was like space. It was like Wolf Boy, Wolf Man.
East Space Wolfman.
Yeah. And it was funny because I always ask a company whenever they want to do a sponsored video, like, what are some talking points? And they gave me some talking points. And they're like, maybe joke about the fact that these are really similar to Primarchs. And I was like, why? What?
Maybe don't.
Yeah, let that fly under the radar. What are you talking about?
Let the thing get funded first, brah.
Yeah, but they said that. So whatever. But yeah, that got canned.
How did they not know? This isn't the first time that GW's like, hey, you can't use our shit, bro.
They said to me in an email, when they first got taken down, they were like, hey, we're going to try to dispute this. We believe that our models are unique enough to be separate from GW's intellectual property. They weren't. I don't think they were. So, I mean, like, it's Lehman Russ. He's got his axe. He's got his sword. It's like...
The armor is...
Yeah, it's like... You got shoulder pads and power armor. It's like, it's pretty spot on. But that happened. I don't know if that's a worthy news item, but you have anything else you want to say about that?
I want to say, why were they shut down, but then Sergio can win $10,000 for that sculpted 90 mil Space Marine?
Because he's not selling it.
He made money off it.
He's not selling it. It's different. He is not mass producing that model.
He won $10,000.
So what is GW gonna give me that $10,000? Yeah, what are they gonna do?
Yes, that would be hilarious.
Oh my god.
Hey, bro. Actually, they couldn't take. Well, they'd take the cut of the sculptor because he didn't sculpt it, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. But
that would not be okay. I would swear off buying GW products if they did that. He paid someone to sculpt it. It's totally it's Lehman Russ, or it's a Space Wolf. Totally is. But yeah, he's not casting it and selling it. I think that's a whole different ballgame.
It is different because it's basically free publicity for them. He won a giant painting competition with their IP.
Yeah, and it's like, where can I buy that model? It's like, you can't. It's based on GW stuff. Go there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Theirs don't look nearly as cool.
Yeah, that one's a big boy. Another newsworthy item, which didn't happen super recently, but I think it's worth talking about, is, I might butcher this man's name, but you probably know a man by the name of Angel Giraldez. Is G in Spanish an H? People call him Angel Giraldez.
Yeah.
I know Alfonso Giraldez. That's how you pronounce that last name.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what we're talking about. He has a huge Instagram following. He recently used to be a commission painter for Corvus Belli. Mm-hmm. Now he's gone freelance, doing super well. Has 2 painters under his wings that paint alongside him. Does painting for all kinds of Kickstarters. He's always pumping out stuff. It's nuts.
Yeah, I guess the best, if you're not sure who he is, if you look at any box art for almost any miniature outside of Games Workshop, it's about an 80% chance he painted the box art.
Yeah, yeah.
He paints everything.
Yeah, or at least someone in his company. Like he's just all those kind of like a little bit less known Kickstarters. He's like, I don't know if he charges just hourly or he also charges for the fact that he's like giving publicity to these Kickstarters. That's a huge thing, right? Mm-hmm. If you have 20,000 or 15,000 followers on Instagram and you're like, I'm painting this model for this Kickstarter, it's like, that is advertisement. I feel like you should charge. Angel, if you're not charging for that, you should charge for that.
Yeah.
Because that is huge.
That should go into your rate.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it shouldn't be a separate cost.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't know him, we'll have a link to his Facebook page and his Instagram page in the show notes. He is the master, I think, probably, of painting things without investing a buttload of time and having it pop beautifully on camera in pictures. He knows he has such a fine-tuned, this is how much effort I'm going to put in this model so I don't go over my quote probably, and it's how it still looks amazing. And they look great.
He's He's got to be the most efficient painter.
Exactly. I think that's a great way to say what I just said in one word. Thank you.
He's also
economical.
He's also the airbrush
god. Yeah. He's got that whole book, the masterclass book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fucking term. I just hate it.
Masterclass.
Masterclass.
You want to be a master? You need to take this class
on Sunday.
Sunday. Watch the cheat. No, okay, we're not going. It's a wrong bad reference. Okay. But .com paid $386. Just okay. I could go on forever about that. But he made a YouTube channel.
Yes, he did.
And this is a huge thing.
Telemundo.
Yeah. Well, this is a huge thing to me because every single painter that starts content creation, their first move is I'm going to paywall all of my crap and put it on Patreon. Alfonso Giraldez, Ben Comets, Flamion, the lady from Atlanta, and Aaron Lovejoy and Elizabeth Beckley Bradford. They have their thing.
Oliver Spaeth.
We could go on.
Banshee.
I said him first.
Oh, did you?
We could go on forever. And that's fine. I'm not criticizing that, but everyone does that. But Angel, I think, made the smart move, the tougher move, but in the end, the better move. He put his stuff out for free on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I just want to, if anyone has contact with Angel or you listen to this, you're not. That's awesome. Props to you. I love that you did that. It will pay off in 3 years. You just got to keep at it. I believe. So yeah, that was a huge thing. I didn't expect that from him, and he did it.
That's cool. And I've watched most of the videos, and I like them because I know how amazing his work is in such a efficient use of time. I liked just watching the stroke by stroke. Stroke me.
Yeah, there we go. There's a song for our miniature painting album.
Yeah.
In the works coming out in 2025.
2025. Just to watch how he works and how he is efficient with every step of the process. It was just really, I enjoyed it. I enjoy it. It's tough because it's all in Spanish, though.
Yeah, he took a risk. The majority of people on YouTube consume the content in English, and his stuff is in Spanish with English subs. But I understand why he did that, because if you've ever taken a class from Angel, he struggles with the English language. Mm-hmm. This is not his first language. And so I think he wanted to get his education across as succinctly and clearly as he could. So he spoke his native language. And he put in English subs. That's like the best second place thing you can do.
Yeah.
So now the education isn't messed up, but it also appeals to American and anyone else who speaks English viewers. For me, that makes it hard to watch. I don't want to read the content. I want to listen and watch.
American.
Yeah. I'm privileged, and I should get what I want.
Which means no rating. I just picked number 2 on the drive-thru menu at McDonald's. Boom. Yeah. Third time.
I don't want to even look at pictures. I don't want options. I know what I want, and I'm going to stick to it.
I'm going to stick to it.
But yeah, so he took a risk, and it's all in Spanish.
My issue, and if I was him, or if I were you, I would have done the same thing. But here's the issue that I have with it. My eyeballs can't read and watch exactly what he's doing at the same time.
Yeah, you got to kind of watch it twice almost.
Which is really tough, because you're trying to like absorb the knowledge while you visually absorb it as well. Mm-hmm. And you can't do those. Mm-hmm. So like you have to kind of be able to go cross-eyed and be like, this eyeball, you read, this eyeball, you watch. And so it's tough. But if his videos are well edited, in that,
yes,
they're not super long, where I am okay with rewatching sections of it 3-4 times to really get the feel for it and understand his very deliberate brushstrokes.
Right. Actually, you know what? You mentioned his videos were well produced. He has a team of people, maybe 1 or 2 people a full team. But it's not just him. Like I'm like mom and pop shop, just me being an idiot in my basement right now. But I think he has a cameraman, or at the very least, someone to edit his footage.
Yeah.
So like, and like he has connections in the industry. Vallejo sent him a huge like stand of their paints and products, and that's
He's got like his whole studio is like Vallejo Swagamafole.
Yeah. So he knows, he's got some connections there, and that is affecting his end product in a positive way, making it look more official, presentable. So yeah, he has an eye for production, which is it's becoming more of a thing now in the miniature painting YouTube world, but it is not fully online yet. Also, another thing I want to say about his content is that it's organized like Cujo organizes his content. So it's like, how do you paint red skin? And that's how the video is titled. That is not going to do well on YouTube ever, because it's so specific and it's so helpful for people that specifically need that information. It's not a bad thing, but like, it's not a thing that is like doing well with search engine optimization.
Yeah.
So like the way I organize my content right now, it's probably a mixture. But what I've been doing a lot lately is like, what is going to get clicks? How to use Paint a Space Marine under 30 minutes. Like that, that's clickbait, baby.
Click it.
So his stuff isn't clickbaity. It's like very specific deep dives, not deep dive, but a very specific topic. And we'll talk about how he addresses it. And that's kind of how Cujo does it too. And so this doesn't get you a lot of views, but what it gets you is, it gets you as fans that are hungry for your content and like are super invested in your content, which is a different way to approach a YouTube channel, but also equally as profitable, because those fans that find you on YouTube and love you for what you're making will then go and buy Angel's book, his coffee mug, which is like every brushstroke is a win or some
Jesus Christ,
some cliche thing. But he's got it.
The AG symbol looks to me like the Avengers symbol too,
or kind of like an infinity thing, like Corvus Belli's infinity. But
I want to interrupt real quick. You know who is the master of doing this? Is Vinci V.
Vinci V.
Vinci V.
Vintorella.
Yeah. His painting tips videos, which he's got like 800 of them.
Oh yeah.
And so when they're just a single itty bitty specific thing, like how to paint a mirror. Awesome. Now I know how to paint a mirror. Holy crap. I could learn how to paint anything because his catalog is so gigantic.
Yeah.
That's where it really comes into play.
Right. Yeah.
If you can create a catalog of all those really descriptive things, but make it a vast catalog.
Sure.
Eventually.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, so that's our hot take. If you haven't seen his channel yet, it'll be linked down there just by his other social media stuff. You can go check it out for yourself. If you speak Spanish, you just struck gold. You don't gotta read subtitles. But yeah, so that's Angel's channel. Go check it out. Okay, so we've finished the main, as John likes to say, the meat and potatoes of the episode, and now we're going to answer some questions that I think we might have about our old podcast, what we've changed, and why we've changed certain things. So if you have no idea what deafening roar is, and you don't give a crap, you can tune out now. Or if you like the sounds of our dulcet tones, you can stick around. But first of all, we got a lot of lovely feedback, and we've made changes based on that feedback. Number one was we want the episodes to be longer. We've added additional segments to make them longer. Another piece of feedback was the name isn't really related to the hobby. And while I'm a strong believer in you not needing a name related to the hobby, for like your social media endeavor, we decided to change the name to Trapped Under Plastic, because we feel like that resonates with a lot of people in the hobby that own so many models that they feel like they're imprisoned by them almost. And we have like the hand under the sprue, like it's stuck down there.
Yeah.
And one person in particular I want to shout out. His name is, Christopher Figueredo. He gave us the name for the channel. We actually did a little poll to see what worked. We had like Booster Pack, Deafening Roar, and then we had
There's a couple other ones too.
Yeah, I like Blister Pack a lot.
Blister Pack.
But Trapped Under Plastic won, and we wanted to go with that. He came up with that idea. It's a riff on Metallica's song
Trapped Under Ice.
Trapped Under Nice. And then the logo actually was sketched by the same dude.
Yeah,
he's a patron of mine, and he just crushed it.
Man of many talents.
Yeah, so the idea of the logo being part of a sprue was so amazing.
Yes.
So we stole that, and I was like, put a hand under it, just because so it's like trapped. And so then we had the very talented heavy hand illustration from Instagram. I can't remember his real name right now, but he drew us up a logo, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, he drew a heavy hand with his heavy hand.
Yeah. That's one thing we've changed. I don't know. There are things that I could talk about this forever, but I don't want to let you talk. What are some changes we made, John?
Well, I think a question that folks have is like, where the hell have you guys been? I get that when I'm chilling on Twitch and stuff, and people are like, hey, where's the podcast, guys? Where's the podcast?
Yeah.
And we, Scott and I are both tryhards. I think we've probably shared this before.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure,
clinical tryhards.
We want to make sure we do this right.
Yeah.
You know, like we're going to try our best to fill a hole.
Oh God. This is the last episode.
First and last. It's just gonna be like a broom with a balloon head and then this spot going forward.
I didn't get that at first, but now I get it. It's gonna put Crusher right there, my dog.
Yeah. And so we want to make sure we kind of got all our balls in a row. And really make sure we can do it right. Something that we're carving out our space to where we really want to succeed with this, and we want it to grow, and we want it to have opportunities for us to not pigeonhole ourselves. So
and part of that is like figuring out a podcast host, figuring out the name, getting it finalized, getting the merch so we can wear it in the first episode. And there are things, me and John were talking about this earlier, where I'll put up roadblocks before I can start a project. And I do this for everything, and the podcast included. So we decided to say some of those roadblocks weren't incredibly important for our first episode. One of those being like getting a fluffy carpet to put on the basement floor for better audio, or like putting foam, like audio foam in the ceiling in certain parts to make the recording a little bit better, or other things. We just decided, okay, we can do that. It can get better over time. We just need to start this now. Yeah. So hopefully it'll get better over time. Maybe we'll get a bit different backdrop. This is the same backdrop I use for my YouTube channel. Maybe we can get a different one that's for the podcast specifically.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's in the works, but I need to reorganize my basement, much to my wife's chagrin.
It's in the budget. It's $0 budget.
Yeah. Other changes, we got nice, fun, fancy mics.
Oh yeah, this is so nice.
You kind of want to just like eat this microphone. But some nice Shure SM7Bs instead of the mics that I use for YouTube, which are great for podcasts. We got these fancy chairs, which were for a different show that's coming out later called Kill Your Friends.
Spoilers.
Gaming video. And yeah, another thing we came out with is a Patreon campaign for this podcast. And I want to get, and this is going to be me talking for a little bit, I want to get in front of a criticism that I'm probably going to get, and probably rightfully so, is that, Scott, you already have a Patreon, and why do you have a second one? And also, why is this podcast so delineated from the Miniac channel? That's another big question. Well, it's so delineated because this is a joint creative effort between me and John. John's going to have his own YouTube channel, Lord willing, in the future. It's called Ninjon. He actually has the channel, the custom mural, everything lined up. He's just working on his space right now, and then we'll start making content. And then I have my own YouTube channel, and then we're coming together for a podcast. So it needs to be delineated because it's not the Miniac show with John. It is Trapped Under Plastic with Scott and John. It is our thing together.
Or John and Scott.
Oh, yeah. What order are we going to use?
Yeah, we got to fight that battle yet.
We'll just mix it up every now and then. No, we don't need to be Rhett and Link.
Oh, yeah.
No one says Link and Rhett. That sounds wrong. But yeah, so we wanted it to be a separate thing. Both of our channels will support the podcast. They'll reference it in videos saying, hey, if you're interested in the podcast, check it out here. But the logo and all that stuff's going to be different. Now, why is there a Patreon thing? Well, because this is a joint effort, I want to pay John a percentage of what the podcast earns. He's not an employee of me. He is a co-owner in this small endeavor that we have. And if I have a Patreon tier in my campaign that says, the $5 tier, the one where it's you get early videos and you get to be in the Discord. If I put in there, hey, you can put in topics for the podcast, well, then that muddies the waters. Then I don't know how much of my dollars in my personal Patreon campaign to give to John. So there's a separate one. And what that means for me is that maybe some people will prefer to be a patron on the podcast and not of the YouTube channel. And that is totally fine. If you can't afford both, I 100% understand it. I'm not trying to make more money. I really want to be fair and pay John every cent that he, earns. So we have a separate merch store. It's not part of the Miniac one. So I can delineate exactly what we make there and pay John exactly what he deserves.
The TLDR version is we just really don't want to do math. And this way it keeps the math easy.
Impossible math.
Impossible.
I'm not just being lazy. This is not possible to delineate.
It is, yeah. I mean, we don't have the kind of technology.
Yeah. I guess if there was like a survey question, why did you join this tier for the podcast for this? Then we could delineate, but there isn't that.
And even if there was, it could be like, but I enjoy both.
Yeah.
Which do I pick?
Right. Then you have to pick.
Check all that apply, and then we're back to square one.
Exactly. Yeah. Then we're back to can someone please recast this podcast so I can get it cheaper instead of just picking what I can afford? Yeah. Is there anything else we wanted to say about coming back?
No, I think we're just happy to be back. This is fun, man.
It is fun to talk about this stuff.
We're planning on every other Monday.
Every other Monday, podcast coming out. We have a Patreon page for it and the rewards for it. And this might change, but right now they are, as part of a patron, you can submit topics for us to discuss and we'll look at them, maybe reword them, and then give you credit in the show when we use it, if we use it. Mm-hmm. Another one is an extended version of the podcast. So if you want to listen to us talk even more,
Podcast After Dark.
If you want like an extended version of the podcast, me and John are doing an extended version also for our patrons. And that extended version is going to include me and John are going to talk about a favorite mini that we've seen in the recent 2 weeks that we love. Talk about why we love it, and we're also going to give feedback to one of our patrons. We're going to talk about a model. We're going to talk about one part of that model and just like deep dive into feedback on that specifically. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a part of that, either via submitting a model or just hearing the podcast for longer, you can become a patron of ours. And all of that stuff is also linked in the show notes.
All right, Scotty boy, that might just put a bow on this package for episode 1. So before we take off, we should chat about how folks can support us if they so choose. First and foremost, thank you for listening and tell your fellow nerds about us.
Yeah.
So spreading the word is probably the thing that you can do that will most help us and help this podcast grow. Mm-hmm. If you want to think of other ways as well, we do have some sweet merch. Mm-hmm. You can check in the link below, as well as our fledgling Patreon campaign.
Yeah, all those things. Also, other ways that can help us is via rating us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. That helps us get a better kind of suggestion ratio for Apple Podcasts, gets us higher in the recommended feed.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. We want a lot of people to be like, oh, what is this?
What is this? And then they realize it's about miniatures. And they're like, I'm out of here.
I thought this was for Metallica aficionados.
All right, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Come back for the next episode 2 Mondays away from here. We'll catch you guys later.